kicking off the night will be Thom Cantrall. If you don't know who Thom Cantrall is, well, he's going to tell you. He's kind of a big deal. Thom has had a lot of experience in dissecting the Patterson-Gimlin film. To date, that is still one of the most controversial films of Bigfoot evidence. It's just amazing. So what we're going to do is Thom's going to give you a little bit of his background, his research, and the stuff that he has done on this film to prove its validity. So I want to tell you guys up front, I'm not here, and there's nobody that's going to hit this stage that is here to tell you and convince you that Bigfoot is real, and they're not here to convince you that he's not real. And something I always try to stress is you don't make a decision until you have the right amount of information. So without the right information, you guys have to decide for yourselves. Big round of applause, Thom Cantrall.
Thank you very much, Chris. Before you go, I want you know, this happened the same thing in 2012 when I had my conference. But I wanted to ask you, how many settings did you have to do with to get your statue made?
That is one big Bigfoot.
That is.
That's one handy girl right there.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give Russ a great big hand for putting this on. I've done a few of these. I know what it takes. Okay? He has worked his tail off to present this. I was looking here as I came up there at the gifts that are going to be given away. From Rob's knockers down there at the end to, this is the one I really liked. 10-person tent. Have you ever slept in a 10-person tent? Huh? The only way you're getting 10 people in that tent is if 3 of them are consenting adults. Pardon me if I have to sit down, I'm old. In 1967, my friend Bob Gimlin and his friend Roger Patterson shot a minute of film that has created 50 years of controversy. But who is it controversial to? And why is it controversial? We're going to ask that today, if I can figure out how to run the electronics. I got to watch this with you, so I know where I am. Somebody said, we can't wait to hear your presentation. I said, I can't wait to either. I love what I hear what I even say. Okay. How to argue with people. Remember this about arguing. I can't prove anything to you. Nothing whatsoever. All I can do is offer evidence. Proof is in your mind. How much of my evidence does it take your mind to assimilate before it becomes proof in your mind? Okay? So I'm never going to say, this is what it is. You will hear me say, this is what it is to me, but that doesn't mean that's what it is to you, or you, or you. And I don't mean to have my backs turned to you guys, but I am limited on physical ability here, and I do have to sit. A week ago I couldn't stand up. Okay, so we are on the mend. But when you're 70 years old, you mend slowly. Okay? When somebody wants to discuss with me, or argue with me, or discuss a point with me, I need to know some things about that person. Where's the fruit on the tree? Are these your ideas you're expounding, or are they somebody else's? If they're somebody else's ideas, who is that someone? And let me tell you, My brother-in-law says, doesn't go anywhere with me. I got a brother-in-law too, and I don't like him either. Okay? If you want to exchange, I'll listen to anything you have to say that's said in respect and with politeness. I won't argue with anything. I might present a counter proposal, a counter idea, but I'm not going to argue with you. Number one, when arguments begin, reason goes out the window. Okay? All of a sudden, the person you're discussing this with isn't listening to you anymore to hear what you say. He's listening to you to formulate his own answer. Okay? You can't win in that situation. The corollary to that is never argue with a fool. They've had much more experience of being a fool than you have. And they'll drag you down to their level and beat you with experience every time. So don't even try it. Okay? Today, when I get in a discussion with somebody and they say I'm all wet, probably I am. But I want you to know this. I've considered what I'm saying. Okay? I've thought about it, and I've changed my attitude. I've changed my ideas. I have never learned anything worth knowing from somebody who agreed with me completely. I learn from people who have different ideas. And I listen to them. I may disagree with them at the time, but I listen to them. And then I think about them and I assimilate them. So if I talk about an experience, it's because that's how I saw that experience. You may see it totally differently. Your truth may be entirely different than mine. Does it make mine less? No, it doesn't diminish it a bit, does it? It might alter it with time, but it never diminishes it. Okay. When we are discussing things, we have what's called classes of evidence. In a court of law, you have classes of evidence. The first is empirical evidence. Can I test it? Can I measure it? Can I reproduce it? This is the type of evidence that science requires. Testable, reproducible evidence. Okay? The second is expert testimony. Look at the word expert. EX, has been. Spurt, a drip under pressure. Now, define expert for me. Expert testimony means they have the fruit on the tree. Dr. Jeff Meldrum and I don't always agree, but we're always in respect, and I always learn when I listen from him. That's expert testimony. Eyewitness testimony, suspect. Highly suspect. Why? Because it depends on the experience of the eyewitness. When I was in college, there was a study that I saw. This was in, I don't know, philosophy class or psychology class that I was forced to take. Anything that wasn't forestry related, I was forced to take. Okay. At any rate, this was a study done in inner city ghetto area. They showed children, 3 to 5 years old, a picture of a teddy bear. Over 90% of them identified it as a rat. Why? They knew what rats were. They didn't know what teddy bears were. Anecdotal evidence. Well, I was there on Saturday, the sun was shining, I saw this happened, it went down here. It's a story. To you, it means a lot. In a court of law, it means little. It's the second worst type of evidence. as far as being relied on. It relies on the character of the person relating it. It relies on their experience, again, back to the rat and the teddy bear. And it relies on the mindset of the person delivering the anecdote. What do they have to gain from it? Okay? And the last is hearsay. That's not even admissible in court of law. My brother-in-law says. You know what my brother, we talked about what my brother-in-law did. Let's talk about it in trackway, since we have a little time here. This is one that occurred this winter in the Wenatchee area. But how do you make footprints 4.5 to 5 feet apart in a direct line on stilts? If you find that person, let me know. Barnum and Bailey would like to talk to him. Boy, did I tell my age there? We have film of a trackway being made. Did you realize that? We have a minute of film of a trackway being made. There's part of it. Her pace, her step, I should say, her stride, was between 44 and 52 inches. Her steps were in line, like you saw in that trackway of Paul's. They were not side by side like people do. You have to remember, they don't walk like we do. They walk with what's called a compliant gait. We humans, when we walk, we pull those over our knees and our hips. We land on our heel with a heavy strike and then put weight down forward on our feet. It's how we do it. They don't. Their foot comes up smoothly. It swings to the side in a circular motion like we would do if we were wearing snowshoes. Goes down flat, and then the weight transfers forward. They have a mid-tarsal brake, which when they step forward, brakes. You can always tell. If you want to know a good way to tell a real track from a fake? On a real track, the front half had better be deeper than the back half. On a human, the back half is going to be deeper than the front half. Because we hit heel first. Our weight's on our heel. Okay? They lift off from the front half. When they put their foot on the ground, they've got 7.5 pounds per square inch ground pressure. Empirical evidence. It can be measured, it can be repeated. Okay? When they lift off, that mid-tarsal brake has functioned. They're now on half of their foot. The pressure goes to 15 pounds per square inch. What's the foot have to do? Sink further in, doesn't it? So if you're looking at what you think is a Sasquatch track, if the front half is not deeper than the back half, you better find a reason why not if you want to make it look real. Okay? Very good picture from the Patterson-Gimlin trackway of a footprint showing that mid-tarsal brake. I was going to show you there was a twig there that is not part of the track. It just happens to be there. Bill Munns. Anybody know Bill Munns? He was here a year ago in March. Spoke. Masterful job on this film. I've had conversations with him before and since. If there's anybody that knows how to make a costume, it's Bill Munns. He spent years in Hollywood teaching the school how to make costumes. That is frame 72. See that foot sticking up there? That's 14 and a half inches. How do we know that? It was measured, empirical evidence, by more than one person. It was measured by Roger. It was measured by John Green. It was measured by the taxidermist from Redding, Bob Tittons. It was measured by Al Hodgson. 13 and a half inches. Every one of them agrees. Okay? Now, if I take that 14 and a half inch foot and I use a set of dividers, calipers, and I go from here, there, there, guess what I have now? I have her height. When I did that, she's 7 foot 4 inches tall. Dr. Meldrum says that your foot is, let me rephrase that. Your height is 6.5 times the length of your foot. It's a constant, okay, anatomical constant. If I do that with her, it comes out to 7 foot 10 inches. Right in the ballpark, right? In addition, Bill Munns took the data from the film and he ascertained, using the lens used, the distance of the subject to be 7 foot 4 inches tall, plus or minus 2 inches. So, what is Betty? Somewhere between 7 foot 3 and 7 foot 10 inches tall. In 2013, Dr. Esteban Sarmiento and Dr. Konzak decided to do a study. They got an athlete, a very good athlete, and they were going to teach him this walk. They were going to teach him how to do the Patterson walk. Okay. They spent weeks and weeks and weeks and couldn't do it. They found out that swinging hip was a motion that even an athlete cannot emulate. You take that suit, her torso is longer than ours. When you line the knees up, the hips are out of place. The shoulders are out of place. And in her, the upper leg is longer, substantially longer, than the lower leg. This is a condition that you will not find in humans. It virtually never occurs. Now, what are your chances of it being a hoax now? Are they going down? I don't know if you can see these, they're a little bit shaky. But if you look closely, and these scientists did, you can see the eyes closed and the eyes open as she's looking back. You got a suit that can do that in 1967? You can see the mouth open and close. You can see the masseter muscle, this big jaw muscle here. You can see it up, you can see it down. And this big tendon muscle on the outside of your leg here, you can see it work. You can see the Achilles tendon work. Owen Caddy said, I didn't see anything that would stands out glaringly saying fake. Dr. Dare Swindler, University of Washington, if it had been a mask of some animal, not human, or something like that, it was a well-fabricated mask, which I say now more than I would have said in earlier days. In other words, he's learned it too. There are 5 major points listed there. Breast jiggles, back lines, the shape of the head, the detailed film analysis, and costume design. These factors all come from Bill. They're all relevant, and we're going to go through them quickly here. These come out of Bill's book, When Roger Met Patty. If you don't have that book, get it. I guarantee you, there will be questions out of that book on the final. Okay? You will hear from that book. It's the best work ever done on this film. He analyzes it frame by frame and tells you exactly why it cannot be a fake. This from the man who taught others how to build the costumes. He noticed that when she walked in that turn back phase, she does something we all do. I've done it, I know you have too. You go to step and you think the ground's here, but it's an inch or so away. And you hit hard. You take a jolt, right? You step further than you thought you were going to. When she did it, she had something that only half of our human race has. Her boob jiggle. So Bill got the idea. Let's go back and see what they did for prostheses, like Catherine Ross did in The Stepford Wives, where they aged her, and they used different breast prostheses. Okay, let's go back and see what they had in 1967, and we'll do a study on it. And he did. He found out they had 3 major types of prostheses they used at that time. Then he hired models. He got a grant and did a university study on this. When he found out there was only one set of boobs that would jiggle. None of the prostheses would jiggle. Man, that's a tough word. I should use easier ones, shouldn't I? I think my phone is ringing. But the only one that jiggled was the live model. Using the best prostheses available in 1967, the only one that jiggled was the live model. Is there a message in that for us? Can we pick something up out of that? Yeah, I think we can. The head, real problem. Patty's head doesn't go up, it slopes back. You take our head and you try to put it in it. See what it does? How do they get around that in Hollywood? They make the head bigger. The trouble is, her head isn't bigger. It's totally in proportion. Okay? He made a head the size of hers. Took a skull of our size and it wouldn't fit. See that line down the middle of the back? That comes from having muscles on the spine. This one shows it. I'll tell you another picture that shows it. Larry Simmons had an occasion in September of 2013, I think it was, where their camp camera took a picture of one kneeling over she and Adam Davies. And if you don't believe this, ask Adam. He's here today. He'll tell you the story. He and I were both there. Okay? I had gone home the night it happened. I called the next day. They said, get back over here. So I drove from here to North Cascades to get back over there. It's got that same line. People said, oh, that's just somebody with a sleeping bag over their shoulder. You can see the muscles. Okay. That was very well laid out and rational point. But I think I'll still hold with my emotional opinion based on no evidence whatsoever. That's kind of what I look like when people say that. Talk a little bit about costuming. Peter Brook, costume designer for the Jim Henson Creature Shop. You think they know something about costuming? John Chambers won the Academy Award for Planet of the Apes in 1968. Think he knows something about costuming? John Chambers said if that's a suit, it's the best suit ever made because we didn't have the materials to do that in 1967. The hair moves with the body. We didn't have form-fitting fur until 1980s. So how did they have it in 1967? A saddle maker lives out in the valley out of Yakima. Okay? Which story is getting harder to believe? Three major parts of her, of Patty. Her arm length, the musculature, and the fact that the hair does adhere to the body beneath it. To make that a suit, you would have to have installed each hair individually. Planet of the Apes, it took 4 hours of a team of people to put those people in that suit, and that was only the chest and head. Look at those muscles, the back muscles we talked about. The gluteus maximus, or situs downus muscle. And the legs, you can see the legs. Let me make one thing clear here. Now, you've probably seen a picture of what was rumored to be a rupture of the trapezius, or the muscle anyway, in the shin bone or thigh bone. That's not. That's an artifact that was introduced into copying the film. That does not occur. It's not even on the original or the first copy. Okay? It came in after a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy came in. The same thing as M.K. Davis's light flare that he used for the basis for the massacre hoax. The shoulder blade is clearly seen, and it moves. And Bill Taylor, NBC Graphics, says, not only was that costume impossible to make in '67, it'd be just as impossible to make today. And you know he's right. You want to see one that was made just a couple of years ago that was going to totally debunk the Patterson-Gimlin film? Due to the structure of the creature in the film, if you could find a suit to match all the criteria necessary, you could not find a person to put in that suit that could wear it. There is another anatomical constant, and that's the ratio of your arm length to your leg length. It's called intermembrane index, and in humans it's 72. Our arms are 72% of our length of our legs. In chimpanzees it's 108, gorillas it's 122, and patties it's 84. Every Sasquatch picture I've seen that I thought was correct, where I could get an IM index, it's right around that 84 figure. Does that mean everyone's going to be exactly 84? No, that's the center of the bell curve. There's going to be some variation. Okay, look at this picture. BBC came out, they were going to debunk the Patterson-Gimlin film. So they spent thousands upon, actually tens of thousands of dollars, making that suit. Look at the arm length. But the real teller, look at his neck. Our head sits up on a pedestal. When we turn our head, it goes right over the top of our shoulder. Her neck is much shorter. Now, I don't know whether they have the same number of vertebrae we have, and it's just that trapezius muscle is so much more developed, but they don't have a neck to show. So when she turns her head, her chin hits her shoulder, and she has to open her shoulder in order to look behind her. And that's exactly what you see her doing in that picture, is it not? His head is swiveling, looking over the top of his shoulder. Her head is opening her shoulder. Are they the same? Does that debunk Patty? There's been some other suits around, okay? This is Leroy Blevins. He built this suit. It was supposed to be the perfect Patty. He looks like a blimp in it. And see the difference? Then there's our friend Bob Hieronymus and his Philip Morris $495 suit. And when he puts it on, he's got more folds in that thing than a fat man's chin. Does that look like Patty? But he told the world I was the person in that suit, and here's the suit. Would everybody who believes that stand on your head, please? No takers, okay? Me too. Which one would you believe? This is actual scale. That's Patty. That's Bob Hieronymus. How do you fit him in a suit? Summation to the jury. Analysis by these professional people. And you'll see that big guy hanging at my table out in the other room if you want to come by and visit with him. He is 9 foot 3 inches tall. He lives out in the Blue Mountains. And his name is Akarisha. To close with this, and it's just some logic. If I were going to do a hoax, would I drive over 600 miles from my home to find a place to do it when I lived on the flanks of Mount Rainier, the most prodigious Sasquatch land in the world? Would I tour the area for 3 weeks prior to doing my hoax? If I were doing a hoax, would I film it on the last 24 feet of a 100-foot roll of film? If I were doing a hoax, would I do it by a noisy creek where my commands, the subject couldn't be heard? Everything would have to be hand signals. And him inside of a suit that he can't see out of. How well does that work for you? Why would you film it all from behind? Wouldn't you start your hoax with it coming onto you and maybe turning and going to the side? Why shoot it in only one? Bob Hieronymus said, I drove to Bluff Creek, we got out on the side, and didn't change that till we went 5 miles up Bluff Creek Road. The campsite is 23 miles up Bluff Creek Road. I put the suit on, I walked across the gravel bar, and Roger shot it, I took the suit off, and I got back in my car and came home. One shoot. No backup, no nothing. Again, those who believe that, I have some swamp property that you might be interested in. If any one of these questions would create doubt of a hoax, put all 6 of them together and tell me what happens. Did you know there were 2 lie detector tests done? The one with Bob Hieronymus is kind of famous. Do you know that Roger took one? His material was going to be featured in National Wildlife Magazine. They said, before we do it, you have to take a lie detector test. He did. He had no problem passing it. How many people knew that fact? 4. So at least you learned one thing today, huh? My big finish here. 2 Sasquatch sitting there. One of them says the other one, and then they're not going to believe it. They picked up my poop, put it in a bag, and it was, oh, stop, you're killing me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Yes, I can take questions. Am I too early? I thought we were giving you time. Okay, we've got a couple minutes for questions. Yes, go ahead.
Did you ever meet Roger Patterson?
No, I did not. He passed before, when they did the film in '67, I was at sea. I was on the submarine. And so I didn't know about, actually I didn't know about the film until after 1970. He was pretty sick by then, and then he passed before I got a chance to meet him. I met Bob in that era, but after Roger had passed, and then I renewed my relationship with Bob over the last 10 years or so. Yes, sir. Yes, he did. He was telling the truth, but I don't know what questions they asked him, and I don't know how well convinced he was. I took a lie, this is a major revelation here. I took a lie detector test once and failed, and I was telling the truth, but the detector said I was failing because the questions I were being asked were so heinous to me that it made my body creepy. You know? So they aren't, that's why they're not allowed to court of law. They aren't foolproof. Okay? But I just wanted you to know that there were two. Yes? Anything? All right? Yes? Brooklyn Munns, how do they say that? Lower Mainland BC, I'm up there all the time. California, up Creek, in June 17, 1914, I'm driving up the Galore, which is like the head of Bluff Creek. You drop off the road, down the hill, you're in Bluff Creek. I was camped on Blue Creek, which is the next bridge over. I came around the curve of the road at milepost 14, and there's two of them standing right in the road right in front of me. Okay, that was the greatest. I had a lady from England was in the passenger side when that happened, and her words were,
Okay, everybody, let's have a big round of applause for Thom.